Hello and welcome back. Eddie Radosevich, George Stoia here from Owen Field. Oklahoma loses 34-26 on Saturday in a game that certainly you had opportunities. Welcome back to the instant reaction. Not great. Oklahoma loses on Saturday. A lot of Trinidad Chambliss making plays with his legs. Oklahoma digs themselves a hole after just an embarrassingly bad first half. Dig themselves out of the hole. All of a sudden, Oklahoma has a lead, and then you started the bounce back or the rocket, the whatever you want to call it, the fight, whatever. It was bullshit. Pretty bad.
It wasn't good. Too many crucial mistakes, Eddie, once again for this team. And, they had an opportunity there late in the game, several opportunities. The defense played, I thought, a lot better in the second half. The offense did too in some regard, but they just missed on too many plays, whether it was John Mateer. He was way too inaccurate today, didn't see the field very well. He found something with Xavier Robinson, but I don't know. It was not good. The defense, I thought played one of its worst games of the year, gave up too many chunk plays, which you knew was going to happen today, but couldn't come up with, certain stops and certain points. And then they did at other times. It's hard to, put this loss into perspective in terms of whose fault it is, because I think everybody has a little bit of blame today. The defense gave up too many explosive plays. The offense was too inconsistent. The special teams, you make the huge crucial mistake with the Satania muffed punt. All of those things I think combined for this loss.
Before we get into all of it, and it's going to be agonizing, you're probably already clicked out. So I'm just talking to a bunch of nobody out there. Let us tell you about our good friends over at Lucy. All you got to do to get the subscription, go to lucy.co/SooterScoop. Use the promo code SooterScoop for 20% off your first order. It's a really good deal. You got different milligrams that you can take care of, the espresso, the mango, the mint, the berry, all of it at lucy.co/SooterScoop. And we must tell you, here comes the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. Somebody trying to talk to you on your phone there?
Siri was talking to me.
Shut up, bitch. All right, let's get into it. Certainly, let's start offensively. And John Mateer, he ends up going 17 of 31 today, 223 yards, had a touchdown throw. A lot of inaccuracy, though, from John Mateer, who finishes 17 of 31.
Man, it's tough because he started the game 10 of 11, was pretty sharp. He's still, I don't think he's seeing the field very well right now, Eddie, and I think that's been an issue even going back before he hurt his hand. Like, he just isn't good enough in terms of decision-making, I think. He didn't really put the ball in harm's way a ton today, but he had guys open that he missed, and on plays that you can't. The first drive of the game, you have 1st and 5. I think it was at the Ole Miss 15. You end up going backwards. You threw 3 pass plays. We'll get into the play calling, which I didn't think was very good today either, especially in certain big moments. But Mateer missed on 2 of those that he's got guys open down the field. It felt like he was hesitant. He felt like he was scrambling a lot when he didn't need to, or when he did, he wasn't throwing the ball away, or he wasn't finding anybody down the field. He just was way too inconsistent today, Eddie. And for a team that tends to make some big mistakes, you can't have a quarterback be as inaccurate as Mateer was today and expect to win. I think that's the thing. Like, is it all Mateer's fault that Oklahoma lost today? Of course not. There's a lot of factors that went into it, but when your quarterback is that inaccurate and you make some of the big mistakes in big moments, you're not going to win football games in this league.
I think Oklahoma had 15 yards rushing at halftime. Does that sound something familiar?
I think it might have been 12.
Okay, well, that was great. Really building off of what they did last week. Until Xavier Robinson breaks off a 65-yarder. It seemed like they had some something going there.
Where was he in the first half?
Fair enough.
And that's the thing, is that there was some play calling in that first half where the game kind of got away from him, and they couldn't run the football. We didn't see Xavier Robinson. They weren't consistent with running the football. I thought the second half they came out and they're like, we're going to try and run the ball, and it ended up working for them. They really found something with Xavier. The quarterback run game, that's the other thing. We talk about Mateer. That's not there right now. Like, they are unable to do that, and so I didn't understand. There was moments late in the game where they were trying to run some quarterback run game, and it's losing yards. It's like, if you're going to run the ball, turn around and hand it off to Xavier Robinson. He's the guy that's moving the pile right now. So, you love to see what you saw from Xavier. He got him back in the football game and was really their only offense in the second half. But where's that in the first half?
Do you have a problem with some of the aggressiveness that Oklahoma came with today? They go for it on a 4th down. Certainly was something that you asked Ben Arbuckle about after the game. I thought it was kind of stupid to go for it at that point, especially with the defense playing as well as they did.
So you're talking about...
I'm talking about the first one in the second quarter.
Yeah, so the safety, and we can get into that too. Big momentum changer. They, you had just tied the game. You got to stop. You get the ball back, and you give up a safety there. Then they turn around. They get the ball at the 50. They go down, kick a field goal. 15-10. OU's driving. I don't mind going for it there. You're in Ole Miss territory. You'd been moving the ball. I don't like the play call. Sure. I don't understand what the play call, like what the thought process was there. Not only do you go out and you go under center, which you don't normally do, but you bring in all this new personnel, Ivan Carrion, Zion Kearney. I think you brought in 2 tight ends, which OU's not been good all year with 2 tight ends on the field. So I didn't understand why you changed. You don't have like Satania on the field, Gibson, Burks, like your playmakers aren't out there. Xavier Robinson's not out there. Like, I don't understand the thought process and the personnel change, and then the play call itself was obviously terrible in terms of, I know Ben Arbuckle said after the game they thought it was going to be a good play call. They'd worked it all week, and it just busted. But I don't mind going for it. I think the play call was really bad. And then that totally flipped the game, because that's when Ole Miss went down, and they went up 22-10.
Unbelievable kind of just swings of this game, the teeter-totter of the momentum back and forth. All of a sudden you get into the second half, and all of a sudden Oklahoma, they find something in the run game with Xavier Robinson. He breaks off the 65-yarder, and then you take the lead, 26-25. You're not able to get the 2-point conversion. It seemed like that was like one of the bigger pops from the stadium. It was starting to get a lot of people to believe in what they were doing.
Even after, there's so many moments. I hate to keep bringing up different ones. That was even after, Eddie, they retake the lead after getting the ball on the Ole Miss 15 and going 10 yards backwards and having to kick a field goal. Those are the plays to me, Eddie. We'll talk about the Satania fumble. Can't happen, right? You have the ball late in the game. You got to be able to go and score. But there's other moments in the game that Oklahoma didn't take advantage of. The first drive of the game, you get all the way down there. You have 3 straight pass plays, and you have to kick a field goal instead of scoring a touchdown. You take over on downs in the second half, in the third quarter, and you have to kick a field goal, inside the red zone. Like, that's the shit, Eddie, that if you're Oklahoma, you have to be kicking yourself, because yes, there's moments in the fourth quarter where you had a chance, but if you execute earlier in the game, then maybe you're not sitting in that situation, or maybe the situation, is more in your favor. So those are the things that they had too many of those moments today. You can have a couple of those a game, but you can't have as many as Oklahoma did today and expect to win.
That's why I thought going back into last week, even in that third quarter, being able to take advantage of some opportunity, I thought, okay, maybe you can build off of that. Yeah. It's certainly back to the norm, which I think is a tough conversation to have, because I think that for the most part, over the first, the 4 years that Brent Venables has been the head coach in Norman, that's been a reoccurring theme. Yeah. They make too many mistakes in the small portions of a game that add up over time. And obviously, when you're playing a team like Ole Miss that could move the ball like Ole Miss, let's get to Oklahoma defensively. Good, but also their worst game of the year, because they certainly kept them in the game, holding them to field goals every time that Oklahoma wasn't able to do anything offensively. A lot of missed tackles. Third down, third and long was extremely tough for Oklahoma today. Trinidad Chambliss, you got to give him some credit for making some plays. At the same time, this is an Oklahoma defense that we were talking about maybe being amongst the elite in the nation, and we certainly didn't get that today.
I still think they're really good. They had too many short fields today, like especially before they gave up the long drive early in the game for a touchdown, but then they ended up getting back-to-back punts, and then the safety thing happened, and that totally flipped the game. All of a sudden, Ole Miss got 2 consecutive drives, basically starting at midfield. That shit can't happen. You're putting your defense in a tough spot, but they weren't good enough on third down today. Fourth down as well. Ole Miss, converted a couple of those that were really key. And
Lane tried to help them with the fourth and one. What was it, from the 25-yard line?
And that's where, again, the offense has to take advantage of that, and they didn't do it. So, I thought the defense overall played fine. It wasn't good enough to win the game, I don't think. But, they have to, they didn't get a turnover again today, which is one thing that just continues to baffle me, how they cannot force a single turnover.
They got the turnover on the fumble down in the goal line. Oh, okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
But like, there's moments where it's like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah. They there was one late in the game where the ball was batted up in the air. It almost falls to Danny Okoye. Like, those are the moments. It's like, you really need one of those. But I thought tackling was poor at times today. There's too many open receivers down the field, which is going to happen today. But I just thought that the offense put them in some really tough spots as well and giving them some short fields. And I thought the defense buckled down in the second half. It was much more of what I expected from the game is what we saw from the defense in the second half. I think they held them to 12 points.
You play like you did in the second half, you probably win the game if you come out with a little bit of fire.
But then again, OU takes the lead. It's 26-25.
Sure.
And I think it was the start of the fourth quarter. Ole Miss goes on, I think it was like an 11-play, 75-yard touchdown drive. That can't happen, And even if you hold them to a field goal, you feel a heck of a lot better. I mean, Oklahoma got in field goal position a couple times late in the game that if you were having to kick a field goal, you feel a lot better about it instead of having to get it into the end zone. So that drive can't happen. And, it's just the over-encompassing theme, Eddie, for really this season, the last 4 years, complementary football. And Oklahoma just has not been able to consistently do that. We saw it last week against South Carolina, not a very good team, right? This week you play a great team in Ole Miss, and credit to Ole Miss. I think Ole Miss very, very well could go 11-1 and win the SEC. Like, they're that good. And I think that the quarterback is going to be the best one of the best ones that Oklahoma faces this season, maybe the best one. They lost to a good football team today in Ole Miss. But for Oklahoma, they have to find a way to stop shooting themselves. That has too often become the theme under Brent Venables, is a team that finds ways to continue to hurt themselves. And I think a great example of that is the safety in the first half. R. Mason Thomas comes up with a big sack. They're going to have to punt it from their own 20. You're going to get probably good field position. You're offsides on that play. Then you do get the stop, and you get another penalty on a punt return. It seems like every week they get a penalty on punt return. You're holding. Then the next play, Oklahoma breaks off. I think it was like a 5 or 6 yard run. You're getting out of your own end zone, illegal formation. You're back on the 2. Next play, bad play call, stretch handoff, and you're getting a safety. That's the shit that can't happen, Eddie. Like those are the plays, right, that you cannot allow to happen, because that's how the momentum switch. All of a sudden, Ole Miss goes on a 12-0 run, and you're down 12 at halftime. And yes, credit to Oklahoma. They fought back in the second half, but then they did it again. They kept shooting themselves again, even when they got up. So that's the stuff that Oklahoma, frankly, is going to have to figure out if they want any chance to compete the rest of the year.
And no better example of just kind of the all-encompassing of everything that is this game. You force a punt, you're getting the ball back with 8 minutes left, you're going to have great field position, down by 5, and you fumble.
Yeah,
and for a guy that
Satania's been
6 receptions, 131 today, had the touchdown, had an exceptional day, except for that. And you point to that, and that was really the thing that Brent Venables talked about after the game, that you don't want to put it all on one guy, but my God, you're going to have the ball at the 50-yard line, plus territory, and you fumbled it right back to him in a 5-point game.
And you feel bad because he's trying to make a play. He's jumping to get over a guy. I don't think he saw the other guy flying in to knock the ball out, and he's almost down on the play. But just that stuff can't happen. And who knows? I don't even know if I trust the OU offense to go score with the great field position.
Fair.
But you certainly have a great chance at it, a lot better chance than what you ended up having. So. You feel bad for Satania. He's really been the only playmaker OU's had offensively. That's another thing, and this is a bigger topic.
Sure.
I just don't think they have a ton of playmakers at wide receiver right now.
They don't.
And they need to figure out, can they get other guys on the field, like an Elijah Thomas? I don't see why not at this point.
Doesn't seem like they make a lot of easy throws for John Mateer. They're moving around in the pocket quite a bit.
And some of it is Mateer doesn't take the easy throw.
Fair enough.
They had a 4th and 5 down there. I think it was down late. They're trying to score to, tie the game up, and they have a 4th and 5, and Robinson's swinging out wide open. Nobody covers him in the flat. He's going to get the first down, maybe score, and Mateer throws it to a double-covered, Giovanni Gibson. Like that again, it's like it's hard because I thought the play calling wasn't great at times today, and then there's other times Mateer just misses guys, and it's tough. I think the offense is in a tough spot too with the offensive line. They can never be healthy. I thought Ryan Foje had some moments that he looked like a true freshman, and other moments today that I thought he played extremely well. Fasusi, same thing. True freshman. He had a few moments, but it's not pretty on that side of the ball right now.
Last week we were saying the difference a week can make. We're saying that again to this week with Oklahoma. Now the real stretch run begins. 4 games left in the regular season. Headed out to Knoxville next weekend. Obviously, that's going to be extremely tough. A bye week and then Alabama.
And look, I know no one out there in YouTube land wants to hear what I'm about to say right now. I just shit on the team.
Here comes the pie in the sky.
Well, it is the pie in the sky. and they've put themselves in an extremely difficult spot.
Sure.
Like, you can't do what you did today and expect to be a playoff team, but you go beat Tennessee, on the road, who I don't think is as good as Ole Miss. Now, it's a totally different environment, extremely
100%.
difficult. I won't be picking Oklahoma to win, but you do have an opportunity. You have a lot of opportunity in these last 4 games. You win all 4, hell, that would be amazing. That's probably not going to happen. But if you can go on the road and steal one in Knoxville, then you're right back in a good spot. But I don't know if they can do that. Sure. They're going to have to clean up a lot of stuff. But, the way the schedule plays out, yes, it's extremely difficult, but it also provides you a lot of opportunity to still get back into this thing. So for Oklahoma, they have to figure out a lot of stuff, and I think especially offensively, I think the defense, they had some big mistakes today. I still think that they're a really good group. They're going to keep you in some ball games. They need to create some turnovers, but offensively, they have to find something, and they have to get John Mateer going, because if they don't, then I think it could be a really tough few weeks.
And I think over the next week, obviously, before they go to Knoxville, there's going to be a lot of conversations about Ben Arbuckle. There's going to be a lot of conversations about John Mateer, just who he is. I think that, everybody, you saw him out there. We talked about it during the preseason. Is this the next Baker? He's certainly not.
No.
And those expectations were obviously pretty high. I agree. At the same time, though, you are playing better competition than he played at Washington State. Sometimes I find myself wondering if that's just simply what it is. And that's a tough thing to accept. It's a tough thing to kind of have to swallow to a certain extent. Pause. That's going to get clipped. But it's at the end of the day, it's just not good enough.
Yeah.
And I tweeted that after the game. I think that Oklahoma fans certainly can recognize that this is not what a lot of people signed up for.
No, and Trinidad Chambliss outplayed John Mateer today.
100%.
He was fantastic for them. I still don't understand why they're playing Austin Simmons in some moments. That was very odd from Lane Kiffin.
Especially down in the red zone.
Yeah, that was very weird, but he was phenomenal for them today, and Mateer's got to be better. And, Mateer was really good early in the year, but he showed some signs even against Auburn and Michigan missing guys or not making the right reads or, being inaccurate. And that's the hard thing to look at is this who John Mateer is? And I think we're going to find out because, I don't know if he keeps saying the hand's not bothering him. I kind of think that's the truth. I don't know if it's really bothering him anymore, but he looks more hesitant than he's ever looked. He's got to find something, and Ben Arbuckle's got to help him. They've got to get him some, like you said, easy throws and some completions. And, the weird thing, Eddie, is that it feels like the last couple of weeks he's actually started the game really well and then kind of tapered off towards the end. Again, like I said, 10 of 11 to start the day, but just wasn't good enough down the stretch. And I don't know, and that's the thing is I don't think you need him to be great, but you just still need him to be pretty good to win some football games in this league. And right now, he's just not playing good enough.
That second quarter lull, it just, I keep going back to that first half and digging that 12-point hole. Yeah. It's a tough ask. I think that the number was 27-1, I believe, that Lane Kiffin teams, or 28-0. They were 27-0, 28-0 now when they were up by 10 going into halftime. Lane Kiffin, Ole Miss, they won the game today. They outcoached Oklahoma. They outplayed Oklahoma in every facet of the game.
And like I said, this doesn't mean that the season's over for Oklahoma, whatever. Ole Miss is probably going to play in the SEC championship game. Sure. You look at the rest of their schedule, I don't really see who they're losing. I mean, you can lose any game in this league, but certainly, for them to come in here and win was super impressive. And like I said, they might be one of the better teams OU plays this year. Now OU has to pick themselves off the ground again for the second time in 3 weeks and try and find a way to win because this thing could go off the rails quick. All of a sudden you go to Tennessee and then you get a bye week, but then you have to go to Alabama, who's playing really good ball right now. You could be staring at four losses in 5 games. That's certainly not what you want if you're Oklahoma.
That's the reality of the situation. We'll be back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel on Monday when we catch up with Josh McCuistion for the Game Day Rewind as well as a recruiting report. And it's another big game coming up next week, and it's an even tougher ask headed out to Neyland Stadium to play Tennessee and Josh Heupel. For George Stoia, I'm Eddie Radosevich. We'll see you back here on the SoonerScoop.com YouTube channel.